So Jonas is our expert, and he's going to hand walk us through. We have 4 different ways of accomplishing these remodel projects, and a lot of ins and outs of them. And I personally, in 25 years almost of doing this, have never ever had an efficient way to accomplish these, if at all. And Guaranteed Rate and Jonas and his team, they do so many of these every single month that it makes it a real viable option to solve our inventory process. I mean, I don't know how many buyers you have, John, that can't find houses right now, but I've got a ton of them. And that's complicated by the sellers that don't want to list their house because they don't know if they can find something to buy. So if we
Yep.
can unclog that system in any way, that's what we're trying to do. So at least that's my mission.
All right.
All right.
Well, Corey, I appreciate the introduction. And yes, this is going to be a recorded webinar. It's also an interactive webinar as well. So for anyone on the call that has any questions or any examples that they've been through to the topic that we're talking about, I'd be glad to take time to dive into that a little bit. Again, I find that when we talk through things, it often makes me think of things that aren't already prepared in the slides, and the people that are on the call as well. It makes them think of other questions and things that they may not have thought to ask of. So with no further ado, let's jump in here. Oops. Okay, so what makes a renovation loan different than a traditional loan? Mainly how we handle the appraisal piece. So renovation loans are offer a buyer the opportunity to buy the property in the condition that it's in, and financing both the purchase and the repair money into one loan. And that's a common question that I get is there going to be one loan closing? Is there going to be two? With the renovation loan, it is one loan. We take care of the acquisition of the home. And we also, in the underwriting process, we determine how much of a renovation that we're going to do. We close on the loan, and then that renovation can begin. So the appraisal assignment is done as if the property is already completed. So I started by saying that that's the main piece that's different in these types of loans. And the reason that is we look to get a contractor and a contractor's bid as soon or as close to the time as we get an executed purchase agreement in. And the reason that is we give that contractor's bid to the appraiser, and the appraiser goes out and appraises the property as if all of that work has already been done. Okay, and that's how we're able to pass appraisals where there are things that are wrong with the home, because that's not how the appraisal reads it. So 4 products that we're able to do here, and again, this is unique to Guaranteed Rate where Corey and I are. We do the FHA 203K, we do Fannie Mae's HomeStyle, we do Freddie Mac's Choice, and we do VA's Renovation Loan. Now, we also have a product suite of builder loans, the construction, the perm. It's not for this presentation here today, but it's a suite of products that we offer as well. The main distinguishing factor between the two, just to be clear, is if we haven't dug dirt, that's construction to perm. If we've got a foundation poured, if we've got studs, we can do a renovation loan from that point on, or we can tear a fully built home all the way down to the studs or foundation and rebuild it back to the way the client would like it, depending on their qualifications. Okay. So in starting the presentation,
quick question that quick question that I have, how crazy can some of this stuff be? I mean, is there a house that's in too bad of shape, or quite literally, as long as it can be repaired, we're really working with it? I mean, in most cases, is that?
I would say probably the most extreme that I've done is I had a house that had completely burnt down. And when I had pictures of it, it was up in, I think, Sonoma Sonoma Valley, where it was a foundation and a chimney is all that was there.
Mm.
And they got architecture plans. They, built the house from scratch, if you will. So yeah, it's there's nothing that we can't do as long as the borrower can qualify for that work to be done. Okay. So, but thank you for the question. So you can see in the pictures I have here, I like to start the presentation out with some before and after pictures. It kind of gets the creative juices going. But you can see on the left, we had a property that renters had left. As you can see, they put some wear and tear on it, did a renovation loan on that and fixed it up with up-to-date white cabinets and stainless steel appliances and new cabinets. I actually think they might have just painted the ones up top. And then here's one that I did last year. And you know what, Corey? I think this was up in north of Traverse City. You're up that way, right? Yeah, I think that this was up by you, maybe a little bit farther north. But you can see, I wish the pictures were all the same. The before is obviously on the left, and then it looks like from where the cabinets are, the appraiser is standing with his back and he's shooting out towards the windows the other way. But you can obviously see the beams. They painted them, and it looks great, right? Put in new floors. Here's the outside of the same house. They put new siding on it. It changed, the window there above the front door and changed that out as well. Here's another inside shot, which is a beautiful view. You can see how they really opened that up to see the lake and changed it to hardwood floors. Cleaned up the garage, lightened it up, put another support in there. I actually made that a 2-car, not just a 1. Or I guess that's a 4-car instead of 2. Finished out a bath. And here's the back side of the house, a few different angles in which they took, but yeah. They did a really good job with that. So the next few slides, I wanted to show what the opportunity can be for your clients. The renovation, again, is unique in the fact that if you're doing the right things, you could be building immediate equity into the house. So this first example we have, it's not a good clear shot of the house, but you can see the boarded up window and some of that exposed wood under the roof line there. But this house, all these examples, I think, are Chicagoland-ish, but the acquisition cost was $277,000 with $165,000 in upgrades. It appraised at $478,000. This specific property had $36,000 of immediate buyer equity, and then some comps that were listed below. And I get these this information from a HUD consultant, a national HUD consultant that I work with, and from time to time he'll send me these to let the listing agents know for properties that are currently for sale and what some of the market recent sales have been that would be viewed as comparable. So he's using it as a sales tool to get business, but I think it's a great example of what this opportunity can be for someone that's looking to buy a home. So here we have another one. It's a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, priced at $204,000, $82,000 worth of work after improved value of $321,000 with $35,000 in buyer equity. And there's 3 comps. We've got another one here. 3-bedroom, 3-bath, priced at $349,000, $110,000 worth of upgrades. Future value of $494,000 with $35,000 in equity and some comps. the final one I want to share. 229,000, 122 worth of work. After improved value of 386 and 35,000 in immediate equity and 3 comps. So again, showing you some before and afters and some opportunities in markets that I would consider here in the Midwest. Hopefully for everyone on the call, for you, John, I'm sure you've seen some of these before, properties in the communities and neighborhoods that you support, right?
Yep.
So finding the perfect home can be a challenging, or it can be a challenge. Homeowners and investors have different strategies in which they look for the right properties. Renovation lending is an additional tool that can be leveraged to help enhance the values of these homes. So the agent partners that we work with, they work with all these people. They work with home buyers, investors alike, right? So renovation lending allows us to include the cost of the repairs and the acquisition into one loan. I said that already, but just to reiterate the point. In some cases, the renovation lending may be the best option. In other cases, it may be the only option in getting the home. And I've seen this where the listing will say a cash only opportunity. Well, that's not the case. They just don't know, or they're not confident in the lender to get these types of deals done. But what I find is that the cash offers typically are looking for a good deal. I've got cash, I can demand a lower price. Where a pre-approved renovation client can come in, acquire the property at a higher price, and allow the listing agent to get a better deal for their client as well. So I'm sure we've all heard the saying before, buying the worst house on the best block, right? This loan allows you to do that.
And is this something where the agent too can, on that property, can maybe advertise? I don't know, advertise is probably not the right word, but kind of push this, or maybe that is the right word.
Absolutely.
Push, hey, this will work, for renovation loan, yada yada.
Yeah, when I have time, what I will do is I'll go on to like Zillow and I'll type in the keyword search and I'll say fixer upper, handyman special, sold as is, those types of keywords, and I'll see what properties come up, and then I'll click through them. Sometimes the sold as is just a seller or a listing agent saying the client doesn't want to get caught in a bunch of back and forth of nitpicking the house, right? The house could be in perfect fine condition and nothing wrong with that. So I weed those out. But as I find houses that are in need of repair, I call the listing site up, introduce myself. I say I specialize in these types of loans, try to get a sense of what experience or exposure they've had to the loan. And I let them know, how's the activity been on this house? I've seen it's been on the market for 30 days, 60 days, 90, 120, whatever. And say, I would love an opportunity to put some marketing material together for you to leave in the house of what we could do to fix this up. And I think it does a handful of things. One, it lets a buyer coming through know that there may be a financing option that they didn't know about. But I also think it lets the buying side know that the seller is aware that there's issues with the house and they're not trying to hide anything. And in some cases, it's clear as day there's something wrong with it. But it might be one of those things where the seller's agent will ask for feedback on the house, right? And everyone's like, the chandelier is ugly, it's dated, we hate it, whatever. Well, you could say, hey, we have financing terms that can help speak to the things that you might not like about this house. But if the house checks the boxes for you, we've got a lending option to make this house your own. And so, yes, there's definitely marketing material around it. As far as a property flyer too, that breaks down purchase price, renovation cost, and what the monthly payment and estimated cash to close would be on something like that. Thank you for the question. Okay, so here's a map, and I apologize. I know it's small, but this is a map of the United States showing what the median age of homes are in the United States. What obviously applies to us is the yellow area there in the Midwest. Those are homes that are aged 40 to 49 years old. So that's the average age of these homes. So clearly there is going to be homes out there that haven't been maintained and updated in those 40 to 49 years. The older the homes get, the more the need and demand is. And just looking at the whole United States, there's a great opportunity here because there's a lot of aged inventory all across the US. And I think too, with the market that we're in right now, I feel like renovation has a niche in the lack of inventory that we have. And I'm sure if you have a client that is looking to buy a home, either for you, John, or Corey, it's a multiple offer situation in most cases if it's a desirable home in a desirable area. So when we look at renovation homes, you're not going to have as much interest in that home because not as many people have an appetite for it, may not have a vision for it. So if you do have a client that's open to it and does have the vision and doesn't want to get into a bidding war, this can be a great solution for them as well. All right. So just to be clear, renovation loans are not just for purchase transactions. They're also for refinances alike, okay? Can existing homeowners refinance a remodel? Absolutely, okay? Most agents that I know and work with, they want to be an agent for life. Obviously, just the type of business we're in, agents are going to come across purchase opportunities more frequently than a refinance, but as agents are keeping in front of the client base they have, keywords that they would listen for would be, our family is growing, we're expanding, the house doesn't fit our needs anymore. It might be a situation where we don't have enough equity in the house to be able to sell and move somewhere else. This, with the renovation loan, if we're fixing the right things, it allows us to create equity, as we showed on the prior slides. If we fix the right things, we're going to build the equity not only to do the repair, but to put appreciation in the home. And we can add a second story. We can add an extra bathroom, an extra bedroom, whatever that client might need would definitely be worth a conversation to say, hey, how can we make this home right for you? Especially if the kids love the school, if the parents love the commute to work, if they're entrenched in that community, they might not want to uproot and start somewhere else. Okay.
We have a ton of that aging inventory.
What?
We have a ton of that aging inventory up here. At least I feel like that. Don't you, John? Because a lot of our builders moved out of the area after 08, 09. And so, we've got a lot of people that are just sitting on, stuff that's just out of date.
Yeah, my wife, she lives outside of Burton, so I'm just west of Chicagoland. So we're always driving up that way, and I mean it's from here to there. You can pick out, especially like when you do the business, you look for it, you see it more often, right? So yeah, there's dated inventory everywhere, and I just feel like people don't know the product exists. Okay. So there's more than one way to finance a home renovation. And here's just a few different scenarios in which a client could look to do it. And what I want to do with this slide is I want to talk through them and kind of what the differences are between a renovation loan and these types of alternative solutions. So let's start with a HELOC, or a home equity line of credit. HELOCs are typically capped. They're going to be capped at around 80%. Some places may give you 85, 90% of what the current value of the home is. Well, with the renovation loan, FHA, the 203K, allows us to go up to 110% of what that after improved value is the home. So I mean, that can be a huge difference in what a renovation budget would allow. Another option that we compete with from time to time is promotional credit cards. And so you're going to get that low introductory period for a short period of time, and then it's going to jump to Prime Plus once that's over. So depending on how long the renovation project is going to last and how long that promotional interest rate is on the card, that's something that people would need to be mindful. And in my experience, most times clients underestimate the time it's going to take to do a renovation loan and the cost. Another option would be a personal or consumer loans. Typically, those are non-collateralized options. They call them signature loans as well, which they are shorter periods of time with a higher interest rate as well. And there's nothing out on the marketplace that's going to demand a lower interest rate or more favorable terms than something tied to a home, right? So last option on our list here is liquidating a savings account. And I think everyone has a threshold in which they want to have money saved in the bank to give them peace of mind and a good night's sleep. And just to the point that I just shared is a lot of people, when they're doing a home renovation, they underestimate the time and the budget on what it's going to take to actually get that home fixed. So if they're spending through cash and taking down the levels of reserves that they keep in their bank account, that's something that could bring additional stress to them as well. So renovation loan could be a great solution against all these alternative options, but it's going to be case by case and depending on what the client's needs are. And that's something that we're obviously going to talk through when speaking to the client of what resources do you have to do it. And it might be something where we're just a piece of that. You know what I mean? We don't have to do everything. We obviously would want our renovation repairs to go first, but they may only do a portion and then use savings or credit card or whatever for the other portions that they don't want to put into a loan. So what kinds of properties qualify for a renovation loan? We're going to have 1 to 4 unit properties, condos, mixed use properties, multi-families. A lot of people aren't aware that we can do mixed use. So I just like to stress the point. We cannot use residential renovation lending funds to fix up a commercial space. That commercial space has to be in a condition that will pass an appraisal as is. And we also cannot use any rental income off the commercial space to qualify for the residential loan. But I've done both. I love the FHA 203K with the multi-family. The industry term is the house hack, where you could have a 4-unit building, live in one, rent out the other 3, and those rents can cover the mortgage payment. So multi-families are going to vary depending on the area in which your clients are in. Some communities have more opportunity for those than others, but can be a great product for that. And then FHA is only going to be for a primary home. Client has to live in the unit, in the single family, 2-unit, all the way up to 4-unit. If you have an investment property, we only do renovation loans on a single family investor. And the conventional renovation loan is only eligible for second homes as well. Okay. So what type of terms do we have? With our loan options, I use a car analogy to where FHA, the renovation is the 203K, the FHA is the chassis. You know, that's the make, the model is the 203K. Same thing with Fannie Mae, the renovation is HomeStyle, it's underwritten to Fannie Mae. Choice is for Freddie Mac, underwritten against Freddie Mac guidelines. So those will vary. We do energy efficient renovations as well. I think it sounds cooler than what it is. We can do any type of energy efficient renovation in any type of loan. The only place where it really makes a difference is if we have lent up to the maximum loan to value, the energy efficient portion will allow us to exceed that cap. And the reality of it is, I do see energy efficient renovations. I just don't really see it where I'm maxed out on to what I can lend to. But I will give you an example of a situation here in a minute. So here's some things in which would be considered energy efficient upgrades. We can do HVAC systems, ground source heat pumps, replace natural gas, propane, electric, solar panels, fuel cells, micro turbines, and wind turbines. I've never done one for a turbine. I've never heard of someone that has, but solar panels, yes. And here's the example that I'll share with you. Let's say we're doing a 203K. They allow us to lend up to the 110% that I referenced before. If our purchase price and renovation budget comes in at, let's say, 113%, right? I'm 3% over that cap. If our energy efficient improvements make up more than that 3%, we would still be able to get the renovation done per the budget. Because again, they allow me to exceed that maximum loan to value threshold with any energy efficient upgrades. Does that make sense? Cool. So this section here, we start to get into the differences of FHA, the standard, the limited, the conventional loans, and the VA as well. Excuse me. So there are two types of every kind of renovation loan, the limited and standard. And just to make things more confusing, the limited can also be called a streamline, and the standard can also be called a full. They mean the same things, but everyone has it. The only one that really doesn't have it is VA doesn't have a limited or a streamline. Everything that they have is considered a standard and a full. And the main difference between the two is if we're into a full, it's like a big project and it requires more oversight. And that oversight comes in the form of a HUD consultant. And using a sports analogy, a HUD consultant is like a referee. They don't necessarily care who the contractor is that the client picks, as long as the contractor passes the validation process that we as a lender have. They can use whoever they want, and they only need to have one contractor pick. They don't have to bid it out to 3 different people or anything like that. So the HUD consultant is going to be the person that's going out there after we close on the loan and is doing the inspections, and they're going to sign off and tell the draw specialist they can cut the checks to get the contractor paid. And we continue to do that until all the renovation work is done and the final draw is given. Okay. So let's talk about what makes it a limited and what makes it a full, right? Regardless of the renovation budget amount, if there's any structural work that needs to be done to that house, it automatically becomes a full or a standard, okay? If there's no structural work at all, then for FHA and the 203K, if it's $35,000 worth of work or less, it is considered a streamline. For the conventional, if it's $50,000 or less, then it's considered a streamline, okay? And as far as the process is concerned, I had a client the other day where I locked his rate for 45 days, and he called me up all concerned saying, oh, I don't think this rate lock is going to be long enough to cover the renovation that we have to do. We closed the loan just like any other loan, again, outside of the contractor and the appraiser piece. We closed the loan just like any other loan. Once we're done with the loan, we've closed, the loan goes from our closing department to our draw department, at which point the renovation work can begin. I say this line probably more frequently than anything else. You cannot improve a home that you do not own. So the renovation cannot begin until we've closed on that loan. Make sense? Cool. Okay, I threw in some slides here of just where loan amount limits have gone. So FHA is a little different in the fact that it's going to be county based on where the property is, but for example purposes, I show this because this is a very liberal amount. There's a ton of work that we can do on a single family home up to 472,000, a 4-unit over 900,000, right? And there's even higher loan limit areas like California and New York that allow us to go up even more, and they're all into the millions. So there are many situations where we can utilize the FHA 203K. 203Ks can be used for purchases and refinance, like we've already discussed. And again, there's limited and standard choices. But non-qualifying 203H properties, these are renovation loans that allow appraisals to pass that we are fixing up as the issue, that we are fixing, and all the issues that the appraiser would have called out, it can be rolled into that renovation loan. And the H just, you know what? I didn't mean to speak up. I'm talking about the H, but I'm the K, but I mentioned the H. The H is for a disaster area, so I don't mean to confuse that, but we can fix those up as well. The K is allowing us to fix up anything for the property. It doesn't have to be something that's deemed as a health and safety concern. The client just might not like the look of the tub or the sink. We can fix up whatever they qualify or whatever they ask to be fixed up. We're also able to do properties that have been foreclosed on and short sales. Typically, we ran into a lot more of these in the 08, post 08, 09 mortgage crash. And there's a lot more stringent requirements per the contracts on those, but we can do a renovation loan on any type of property as long as the client qualifies. So when does your client need an FHA 203K limited renovation loan? Again, no structural repairs, 35,000 or less. The limited is different than the standard or the full in how we disperse funds to. So a lot of contractors, especially ones that work off the back of their truck, they're used to the old school way of give me half the money up front, give me the other half when I'm done with the work. That's how the limited 203K works. Is it says here they're going to get 50% of the repairs funded within 5 to 7 business days after we close. It's picked up a little bit now. I'd say it's closer to 1 to 3 days. But yeah, that's how that product works. It's just one draw. They're expected to be able to do all of the work or half the work with that first draw, and then we go out, we send the appraiser out in this case, because it's not a full. We send the appraiser out, he inspects that the work is done, and then the remaining funds get paid out to the contractor at that time. And they do not allow us to do a change order or reallocate funds on a limited, which you can on a full. Again, another slide, extremely hard to see, but basically with the 203K, if you're used to home inspections, which everyone on the call I'm sure is, we are required to fix anything that's deemed as a health and safety concern. So with the home inspection reports, using the stoplight approach, the items that come up as red, right? Those are the things that we have to fix. The things that we cannot fix are going to be anything that's deemed as a luxury item. The thing I get asked the most You cannot put in a new swimming pool. You can repair one. You cannot put in a new well and septic. You can repair one. You cannot put landscaping in. You can seed inside. Okay. And like, you can't put any basketball courts, tennis courts, gazebos, things like that. But you can do that with the conventional renovation loan. So, so contractors are paid with the standard renovation loan on a reimbursement schedule. In the underwriting process, it's all laid out before we close. So there's going to be 2 draws, 3 draws, 5 draws, how long it's going to take. We give them up to 6 months to do this. Once we are done with the work, if there's money left over in the contingency reserve, and I'll get into that in a minute, the client is able to do a change order, meaning do additional work or upgrades to fixtures. They are not allowed to receive any cash back. Any extra money not used goes, they pay the principal down on the loan, which does not change the monthly payment that we closed on. It just will allow the loan to be paid off in a shorter period of time, which obviously knocks the interest off on the back end of the loan. So typically we'll do a 10% to 25% contingency reserve, and that contingency reserve goes up higher depending on the things that the appraiser or HUD consultant cannot see. And again, on a standard or full, that's going to be the HUD consultant. So to give you an example, let's say it's wintertime and the HUD consultant can't get on the roof and the electric and the gas are all turned off because the house has been winterized. We're more likely going to have a 25, maybe 35% contingency reserve, because once we turn those things on, if they don't work, or once we get up on the roof, if there's issues that they couldn't see prior to, then we have to have money set aside to address those issues. At the end of the day, again, if we don't get in those contingency reserves, that can go to do change orders or pay the principal down on the loan. Structural issues, I said that was one of the requirements to make it a full or standard renovation loans. Things that are going to be structural, posts, beams, columns, walls, foundations, things like that. I do get asked, oh, I have a roof problem. Is that going to be a full renovation? And I say, I don't know. What's wrong with the roof? Are shingles torn off and we just need to replace those? That's not structural. Are there beams that are cracked or missing? That's part of the foundation. Well, in that case, yes. So it really depends on, do we have load bearing issues or again, foundational issues that need to be addressed. And with the VA loan, again, they're always going to require us to have the full or standard renovation, regardless if there's any structural issues or not. I want to speak briefly to the HUD consultant again. So using a sports analogy, the HUD consultant is like a referee. They don't care necessarily who the contractor picks to do the work. But they're going to be the equivalent to what an appraiser is assessing the value of the home. The HUD consultant is going to be our eyes on assessing the work that needs to be done on the home. Okay, so they work in tandem or in conjunction with the contractor in making sure the quality is held for the work, but also that the cost associated with the labor and material is being held to national averages for labor and material. And the reason that they do that is obviously we don't want the client to overpay. We don't want to overlend, right? But we also don't want the numbers to come in too low, because if that contractor gets the job because they're priced right, and then the work begins and the contractor gets mad, hurt, or walks off the job, we have to have the client go back out into the open market and find another contractor to do the work. And if it's priced too low, no one's going to take the job, and then we're stuck with a half renovated home that no one wants to finish out. So this is a breakdown of some of the updated, the updated loan limits for the conventional side. These are higher than what FHA is. On a single family home, we can go up to 726,200. 2-unit, just under $1 million, 3 to 4 above $1 million. Again, I share these slides because I feel like it's a very generous amount to allow clients to be able to acquire and renovate a home. If they go above this, the client has to bring those additional funds to close. Make sense? Last bullet point here talks about private mortgage insurance on a conventional loan. The client would have to put 20% down. With the renovation, it's different in the fact that it's 20% of the purchase and renovation budget combined. Conventional renovation underwriting is done on the HomeStyle and the choice. Again, using the make and model car analogy again. The 203K is going to be underwritten with FHA guidelines. A lot of the similar reasons why Corey and myself would place someone into either of those non-renovation products would hold true in the renovation or in the renovation world, but not in every case. And this example here is a great example. On a conventional renovation loan, the renovation cannot exceed 75% of the after improved value of the home. FHA and the 203K do not have that guideline in there. You can fix as much as you want as long as it appraises out. You don't want to over improve a home and it doesn't appraise out. And then you got to either bring in the additional funds or you got to cut part of the renovation out to try to bring the numbers back in line. But as far as credit score, debt ratio, loan to value, those are all the same for the underwriting side. You can finance up to 6 months of mortgage payments into the loan. So the HUD consultant has to sign off on that. They tell us how much that we can roll in. And then there's a form that the client signs saying that they want to do that. So that's used in situations where if the home is inhabitable because of the repair and they have to go live in a hotel or go rent somewhere while this work's being done, they're not strapped with a mortgage payment and a rent payment at the same time. But if the HUD consultant says it is habitable and that they can't roll the payments in, then the client doesn't get a choice. Okay. Second homes, again, those are going to be conventional, and you can put as little as 10% down of the purchase and renovation budget. And we can do refinances on that as well. On this slide, I just like to give some creativity on where agent partners can identify opportunities that they might not normally look for. So you can pursue listings in need of repairs, updates, and rehabs. You can pursue REOs, pursue expireds as well. These all may have renovation as a solution to how these properties can sell quicker. Okay. And then just learning and understanding how the buyer's renovation appetite is will make a difference. And I talked about that in the beginning, like as they may find they're losing out in multiple offer situations and you have a checklist of what's important to them. There may be a home that checks every box, but it's just not in the condition in which they want it to be. And they just haven't been given the vision on how a renovation loan can help them make that home their dream home by just fixing it up or changing it, right? Another thing that's not on this slide that I like to share too, for agents that are known or want to be known as the person in the community that knows someone, a plumber, an electrician, some sort of tradesman. You tell the client, just give me a call and I can hook you up, or I can give you a name of someone that can help you with that. they can be a great referral source for you as well, because I'm sure that they've had opportunities where the job that they were going to do or bid out was too big. The client couldn't find a way to pay for all of that work. Well, by offering these tradesmen a renovation solution to their clients, the homeowners, they may be able to get more work done, and then you may be able to have a satisfied client as well down the road. So we'd be glad to jump on a call and talk to them. And like we spoke before, they may have credit card options, they may have savings accounts or credit lines, and they just don't have the knowledge of the renovation loan, or may not have access to all their funds in other vehicles that they need to fix the home with. So just some food for thought there. And then last slide here, I just want to say thank you. I appreciate everyone's time and attention to the presentation here today. And if there is any questions that you have after this, feel free to connect with Corey. Let him know. We can set up a call. We can talk. But